In this short video, we'll be discussing examples in writing. So first of all, what is an example? An example is an idea or a sentence that we add to a paragraph or a essay to illustrate a point. Examples are specific, they're not general or vague. For example, we have this list: people, students, college students who major in business. People is very general, while this last point here, college students who major in business, that's very specific. So we want our examples to be very specific, like this last point. Examples are also very concrete. We write them so that we can help our reader visualize or see what we're seeing or what we're thinking of in their minds. Where do we usually write examples in a paragraph? Usually we write them after explanations or after more general ideas. Let's take a look at some examples of sample paragraphs with some not so good examples and some better examples. So here's one paragraph. One major similarity between humans and primates is that both cooperate. It's our topic sentence. For example, cooperation is important for the success and survival of the individual and the group as a whole. So you can see that this writer wrote "for example" as a transition word. So we need to have an example after this transition word. But you can see if we read very carefully that this sentence that follows is not even an example. It's an explanation of what cooperation is and why it's important. So first thing, we need to make sure that we actually have clear example sentences in our paragraphs. Let's look at the second sample paragraph. Here, the person also uses "for example." For example, people do things together to have success. They share information with each other. Similarly, chimps do anything together to survive in their environment. So in this case, we're kind of going on the right track. It's a little bit more specific, but it's still pretty general. We are using ideas like people, things, anything. These words are too vague for examples. Let's look at a better example. Okay, so here the student has written, "For example, students work together to succeed." Okay, so we're a little bit more specific. We went from people to students. They share information with each other. Similarly, chimps cooperate to survive. They share resources. So we do have a little bit more specificity building up in our example. Now let's look at a much better example. For example, college students often work together in small groups to complete course projects. They complete various parts of a project individually, but ultimately, the success of the project depends on how well they share information, communicate, and cooperate. Similarly, chimps work together to survive in the wild. Group members gather food such as nuts and berries together, and they share their food with the entire group. In addition, they work as a unit to protect each other from dangers such as other chimp groups or predators. This cooperation increases the chance of the whole group's survival. So you can see that we have very specific words and phrases used in this example. We went from people in the very vague paragraph to college students. And instead of saying they do things together, we're giving specific examples. They're completing a school project. They work individually and then they work together and cooperate. They communicate. They share information. You see that in this paragraph, the example is much more specific, and that's what we want to do. That's what we want to aim for. More mature writing is much more specific, and it's not as vague. So things to remember about examples, one more time. Examples use specific words. They avoid words like thing, something, anything, or general words. And examples are concrete. They allow the reader to kind of visualize or see a picture of what you're thinking in their heads. And examples are usually written after explanations and towards the end of a paragraph usually. And that's just a little bit about writing examples in paragraphs and essays.